Good evening, students. Welcome to the live learning classes organized by Board of Studies ICAI. As a protocol, please confirm you are able to hear me, and also you can see my presentation visible on the screen. Students, for your information, today's MCQ I have duly uploaded on your login page. So once you log in, you can see this particular notes which has been uploaded, which we are going to discuss today. Right? Good evening, Shailesh. Yeah, I'll just wait for few more confirmations. Good evening, Viraj. Hope I'm audible and also you're able to see my screen, ma. Please confirm. Okay, good. I have one question from the last class. Namrata asked this question. Say, what happens if supplier files his GSTR-1 after the due date? So what I will do, I will quickly recap our discussion, what we had in our previous class. After that, we will come back to the question what Namrata has asked. So the coverage what we have planned for today, I have taken care here. Now, these are the connected provisions. I have made very clear in our previous session that anything connected with returns under GST, we have to learn aspects connected with registration, refund under GST law, and also with respect to payment of input tax credit, payment of taxes, availment of input tax credit, refund related chapter. So these are the connected provisions which we need to study when we study this topic called returns under GST law. And one important aspect, unlike our income tax return, GST returns, there is no concept of revision. Please keep in mind this aspect of revision of returns under GST law is not possible. What I can do a rectification of any error or omission for a particular return furnished. So for this, the time limit is for a particular financial year, from the end of the financial year up to 30th November, we can do any sort of rectifications. So for financial year, say 22-23, my time limit for making any rectification is till 30th November 2023. This is what we need to understand. Then I believe Rahim asked this question. If the returns are not filed, what happens, etc. One is interest which comes by default. Also, applicability of late fee in case if returns are not filed in timely manner. This is another exposure we have. And I made you to understand all returns available under GST law in this particular slide. Where all, but you can see that a particular person who is registered under GST law, because of the business nature, he would have been registered as a regular person. He would have been registered as a regular person. In addition to this regular registration, probably the other aspects of ISD, TDS, TCS, section 51, section 52. Section 51, 52. ISD, section 20. Final return, this is after cancellation of your GST return. NRTP and CTP, we had detailed discussion. Composition return, we had, this is covered under section 10. Person who's opted for composition scheme. Provisions of NRTP and CTP are well connected. Then other returns where I was saying person who's registered regularly. So these are basic returns what we have under GST law. And I have made you to understand these provisions where GSTR-1, GSTR-2, 3, 4, and 5. As of today, students, this particular GSTR-2 is not in existence. Then we have discussed other returns. 6 ISD, 7 is for TDS, 8 is for TCS, 9 is the GST annual return, and GSTR-10 is your final return. So these are various returns we have discussed. And I have shown you the form GSTR-1, wherein various tables which are there in GSTR-1, I have made you to understand. While filing GSTR-1, I also have made you to understand this concept called QRMP scheme. QRMP. What is this QRMP? For a MSME business sector where the aggregate turnover is less than 5 crore, they are given an option of filing quarterly GSTR-1. Quarterly GSTR-1. So in a particular quarter, for month 1 and month 2, instead of filing GSTR-1, they will file a simple statement called IFF. And in month 3, they would be filing GSTR-1. Month 1 and month 2, IFF, please keep in mind, this is used only for reporting B2B transactions. Reporting only B2B transactions. In the process of filing return, these are the common challenges we have. I've shown you form GSTR-1 to understand this. Now, there's one doubt. Let me just take it up and come back to this form GSTR-3. Joy is asking this question. Is there classes for multidisciplinary paper in CFNA? Not clear with the schedule, Joy. Probably have to visit to the the timetable which is given on Board of Studies ICAI portal. You would be getting to know if there is any announcement made in this regard. Then, form GSTR-3B. This is a written under section 39 for the purpose of payment of taxes. This is a form which is available in GSTR-3B is a written available under section 39. This is available under section 39, where the tax gets paid on a monthly basis for a registered person who has aggregate turnover exceeding 5 crore. And quarterly return is an option given. That means to say, I as a registered person, if I have my aggregate turnover less than 5 crore, I can choose this particular scheme called quarterly return monthly payment option. Quarterly return monthly payment option. I'll give little clarity in this form GSTR-3B. Let me insert few slides over here. Just give me a minute. With respect to QRMP scheme, please keep in mind, this is a scheme which is optional, on the basis of annual turnover, which is your aggregate turnover less than 5 crore. I can choose for this particular scheme. So, for a particular quarter, say for quarter 1, if I want to opt for this scheme, then assuming Q1 of financial year 23-24, then for this particular period, month 2 of Q4 till month 1 of Q1, the option can be available. Don't get too much bothered with the dates. Examination, they're not going to ask what is the due date for GSTR-1, due date for GSTR-3B. But I don't, students are not expected to remember the dates per se, understand the mechanism how the law has been framed. So here, for a particular period of financial year 23-24, Feb 23 to April 23. Month 2 of Q4. My Q4 of previous year is Jan 23 to March 23. So month 2 of this particular quarter starts from February 23. Till month 1 of this particular quarter, this particular month, I can choose for this particular scheme. Now, once I have chosen for this scheme, payment of taxes. Now, please keep in mind, students, when I file my returns, that is form GSTR-3B, I have to make the payment of tax. Now, assuming if I am under QRMP scheme, assume I am under QRMP scheme for Q1 of 22, 23, 24. How the payment happens, I'll make you to understand for this. Month 1, month 2, month 3. Month 1 and month 2, you just need to pay tax. Again, month 2, you just need to pay tax. For the month 3, you need to file. You have to file form GSTR-3B. Now, please keep in mind, government is interested to collect revenue, collect tax. So here, though QRMP scheme is a very simple scheme where they say that you need not file form GSTR-3B for month 1, form GSTR-3B for month 2. You just need to file form GSTR-3B for month 3. What I would do as a registered person, I would be paying tax for month 1. I would be paying tax for month 2. And for month 3, I will be filing form GSTR-3B. So why is this particular QRMP scheme brought in? This is for ease of doing business. Ease of doing business. Examination, CA final. What question can be expected? Explain the provisions connected with filing of returns for ease of doing business. Examination. Examine the GST provisions connected with ease of doing business under GST in relation to filing returns. Now, what is chapter covered under returns? You need to understand form GSTR1 till form GSTR10. Having understood, now this is a question where they say ease of doing business. Now you cannot write all simple English saying that all GST returns are automated. You need to make the remittance online. Now this is the general things which is available. One of them, ease of doing business, is your QRMP scheme. Use your QRMP scheme. So you need to talk about this particular QRMP scheme. Who can get into this particular QRMP scheme, and what are the benefits or methodology available under QRMP scheme? This is what we need to understand. So when I mentioned about payment of tax, here also government has given two modes, two methods of payment. What are those two methods? I'll explain in the next slide. Method 1, which is called as a fixed amount. Then method 2, which is your self-assessed amount. So here, under fixed method, the registered taxpayer has given a choice. What is that? Pay 35% of cash for month 1 and month 2 each out of 35% of cash for month 1 and month 2 each on the basis of cash paid in previous quarter. So here, assuming for a moment, for financial year 22, 23, 24, Q1, that is April 23 and May 23. For these 2 months, if I have to make the payment, what they're saying, look at your financial year 22-23. In this, look at your quarter 4. In quarter 4, assuming cash paid is rupees 10,000. Cash paid for quarter 4 is rupees 10,000. So what I will do, by default, system makes a computation. For month 1, I would be paying 3,500. For month 2, I would be paying 3,500. This will be done for month 1, month 2. This is one method available. Second method available for me is cash paid for previous month. If monthly return is opted. So here the GST provision says that if at all, if you are in a monthly filing methodology, you shifted from monthly return filing to quarterly return filing. That point in time, they have mentioned that whatever you are paid for assuming same for financial year 23-24, for Q1 and Q2, they wanted to know how much tax they have to pay. They are saying that look at your March 23. Why? For the last period, that is Jan 23 to March 23, I have been filing returns on a monthly basis. From April 23, I have chosen that let me shift from monthly return to quarterly return. Now, students, if you are feeling that this is so much of confusing or so much of practically cumbersome, now this is how the GST provisions are there, and this is how the scheme exists. We have to not memorize, we have to understand the logical reasoning, we have to understand the intent of the government, why this particular mechanism has been brought in. That's the only way, that is the only way where we can understand that when an assessee comes to you saying that I need to file returns on a quarterly basis, I don't want monthly basis, then you should know the mechanism, how do you convey these aspects to the client. Now, important aspect, more than examination point of view, all of you are supposed to understand these provisions, how it will work, and you have to communicate this to your particular client. Like, you should know how do you inform him what point in time and how much tax needs to be paid. So for that particular reason, these provisions have to be thoroughly understood. So here, my option 1, if at all, if I'm filing my returns on a quarterly basis, then the provision says that 35% of the total cash paid in the previous quarter. So in the previous quarter, assuming I have paid 1 lakh, for month 1, 35,000, month 2, 35,000. So in previous period, that is in the previous financial year, I have been filing returns on a monthly basis. So then the provisions say whatever is the tax paid in the previous month, the same has to be paid for month 1 and month. Then the same amount has to be paid for month 1, month for quarter 1 of the particular financial year. So here, assuming for March 23, I have paid cash of rupees 10,000. Then for month 1 also I have to pay rupees 10,000. Month 2 also I have to pay rupees 10,000. Month 2 also I have to pay 10,000. In case of previous option, month 1 35%, month 2 35%, right? In case of method 2, which is self-assessment method, this provision is very easy. Where they say, what is the input tax available? Compare with output tax. The gap between these two should be paid through your cash ledger. So here they have mentioned that there is a form called Form GST-PMT 06. Using this particular form, the tax needs to be deposited. Tax needs to be deposited. Let me know you have any doubts for this particular QRMP scheme, what we have discussed. Rahim says, opt-in date is slightly confusing. Okay. I'll exactly clarify. I'll come to your institute material, Rahim. Let me come back to your institute material. I'll show you where this particular table is given for opting for QRMP scheme. Namrata, this form GSTR-3B and GSTR-3B, once again, I'll revise after this QRMP. You had one doubt with respect to this QRMP scheme. Formal manner, this is a due date for filing a returns under QRMP scheme. I think somewhere in your our material, we have this QRMP scheme. Let me just show you. Meanwhile, any other doubts? Let me just share you back this slide for QRMP scheme. Students who have any doubts in this particular QRMP scheme, where how the tax is paid under option 1, how the tax is paid for option 2. Just let me know. Okay. Students, please just come to your institute material, page number 13.29. Page number 13.29. Rahim, just check at this page, 13.29. Manner for exercising QRMP scheme. Register person intending to opt for QRMP scheme for any quarter. For any quarter. Let's assume that for financial year 23-24 Q1, that is April 23 to June 23, shall indicate his preference for furnishing return on a quarterly basis from first day of second month of preceding quarter till last day of the first month of the quarter for which option has to be exercised. So my Q1 of financial year 23-24, prior to Q1, they say on a quarterly basis, shall from when I have to choose first day of second month of the preceding quarter. For financial year 23-24, I'm talking about Q1. What is my preceding quarter? My preceding quarter will be financial year 22-23. For that, Q4 happens to be, that is Jan 23 to Feb 23, March 23. This happens to be my preceding quarter. And in Q1, I have April 23, May 23, and June 23. So here, the provision says that when you can choose this particular scheme from the first day of second month of the preceding quarter. My preceding quarter happens to be Q4. First day, that is 1st Feb 2023. This is your starting point. The preceding quarter till last day of first month of the quarter. Last day of first month of the quarter. This is my Q1 where I want to exercise. They say last day of the first month of the quarter. This is your first month. So they are saying that to opt for this particular scheme on or after 1st February 2023 till 30th April 2023. I can choose between this period to get into this particular scheme called QRMP. Hope this is clear, Rahim. This is what the provisions say when I can exercise this particular QRMP scheme. Thanks, Mansa. Thanks, Shailesh. Is this clear, Rahim? Okay, let me see any other questions before we go forward. Let me just clear this. I'll come back to my QRMP scheme where how the provisions are explaining this particular. Range is clear? No other doubts. Now, coming back, examination. Now, please keep in mind, again and again, I'm repeating this. We are in CA final. There's nothing called complicated. At the same time, there is nothing called simpler. Average student point of view, there will be a simple questions of this sort where they may ask you computation of tax payment for month 1 and month 2 pertaining to QRMP scheme, where based on a given problem, you are supposed to explain what options are available for a registered person. In this case, first option is your fixed option, second is your self-assessed. So, a question for 4 marks where explain the provisions connected with QRMP for payment of tax. And on basis of a given question, you have to calculate how much is the tax payable for month 1, month 2, either under method 1 or method 2, or even both methods together. This is how we need to calculate. And connected with this particular provision, where interest is also expected from examination point of view. Interest is also expected. How does it get calculated? Assuming, I would say, scenario, tax paid, actual tax, and remarks. Scenario 1. Students, I'm talking only about QRMP scheme. I'm just talking only about QRMP scheme. Now, assuming for month 1, fixed payment. For month 1, fixed payment. Say this is on the basis of 35% route. Tax paid is assuming 3,000. Tax paid is assuming 3,000. Actual tax liability is 3,200. Scenario 2. For month 1, fixed payment, which is equivalent to last month tax paid. Like, please recollect in the previous example, I have under fixed method either to choose 35% or cash paid in the previous month. So here, assuming last month I have paid 5,000 and also this month also I have paid 5,000. Actual tax which comes to say 6,200. Third, assuming it is under self-assessed method. Under self-assessed method, I have paid tax rupees say 2,800. My actual tax came to rupees 3,000. My actual tax came to rupees 3,000. Now, these are the three scenarios which are possible based on my QRMP scheme where two alternative methods are available. One is fixed method, second is your self-assessed method. One is fixed method, second is your self-assessment. Now, moving for these two methods, for scenario number one, I have paid 3,000, which is auto-computed, which is auto-calculated. Now here, please remember, under QRMP scheme, the moment I have chosen that I would like to go for fixed calculation method. Now system calculates 3,000. I paid 3,000. End of my month 3, I got to know for month 1, I ought to have paid 3,200. Now my provision says that no interest. My QRMP provision says that no need to pay any interest. Now, if you ask, sir, what is the justification here? Now, for month 1 and month 2, please remember, the GST provisions have been given an option where the assessee was saying that please pay the GST. How? On a system calculated method. On the basis of system calculated, I paid 3,000. But when I look at my total output tax compared with input tax and cash ledger, there is a shortfall of rupees 200. There is a shortfall of rupees 200. There is a shortfall of rupees 200. So here, my GST provision says that because you have paid this 3,000, which is computed on the basis of system, till you pay the balance 200, no interest is applicable. Similarly, for month scenario number 2. For month 1, under fixed payment method, I paid an amount equivalent to the last month tax paid. Tax paid in the last month pertained to QRMP period. 5,000 was paid, but actual due came to 6,200. Now, in this case, the gap is rupees 1,200. So here also, the GST provision say no interest is applicable. No interest is applicable. Again, please understand. Sir, but as an assessee, how do I know I have to pay 6,200? Your QRMP scheme, the moment I have opted, it is on the basis of link to the previous month. So the previous month of quarter 4, I paid 5,000. Based on that, system has auto-populated 5,000. I also paid 5,000. But actually, end of my month 1, I got to know that my output tax is say 10,000. Out of 10,000, 2,800 I have input tax. Balance 6,200 I have to pay in cash. But your portal, your form PMT06, this particular chalan is auto-calculating me only to pay 5,000. Because you have asked me to pay 5,000, I paid 5,000. Again, no need to pay any interest. Now, self-assessed method. Now, this is a tricky one where I have to examine how much input tax credit is there, how much is the output tax. Gap between this, I have to pay in cash ledger. Now, here, there's a gap of rupees 200. Because it is self-assessed thing, interest under section 50 has to be paid. Now, this is one particular slide which will be tested in your examination for 4 marks where you will be asked to compute the tax for month 1 or month 2 and compare that particular tax with the actual tax liability and give a conclusion whether or not interest is applicable. Let me know if you have any doubts or anyone wants this provision to be explained once again. Anyone wants this computation to be understood? Let me know. Very simple topic, but always I say, expect the unexpected in your CA final. Expect the unexpected. Reason, in your monthly, like, when you have done your internship, you would have done the calculation of GSTR-3B, input tax reconciliation, all other aspects. But this particular QRMP scheme, probably if you're not touched upon, this is what will be tested. Viraj says it's clear. Good. I'll go further for the next topic. Now, moving from here, yeah, I think I'll just come back to my form GSTR-3B, where, or I'll come to your institute material. In institute material, they have explained form 2A and form 2B. Yeah. Form GSTR-2A, form GSTR-2B. This form GSTR-2A, form GSTR-2B are the main source for input tax reconciliation. People have been doing internship, people have been doing articleship. It's in the blood of all the CA intern who file form GSTR-3B. So I'll just explain once again this form GSTR-2A, GSTR-2B in a simple manner for a better understanding. Let me just insert one slide. Yeah. Form GSTR-2A. I would say this particular, GSTR-2A and form GSTR-2B. These are the forms indicating details of inward supply. Details of inward supply. That means to say, for a moment, say Viraj is a registered person under GST. So when Viraj has to file his form GSTR-3B, Viraj has to file his GSTR-3B. This GSTR-3B is nothing for payment of tax. This particular form GSTR-3B is used for payment of tax. So how do I make the payment of tax? Output tax minus input tax. Output tax is on the basis of your form GSTR-1 and input tax is on the basis of form GSTR-2B. This is from 1st Jan 2023. Prior to 1st Jan 2023, we had form GSTR-2A. So for Viraj, this input tax is derived from a particular statement called inward supplies. What do you mean by inward supply? This is nothing but purchases. Purchases. What are the purchases? I could have import of goods or services. I could have inward supply of RCM, reverse charge mechanism. That is your unregistered dealer purchase. URP, unregistered dealer purchase. I could have imports, I could have inward supply from unregistered person, or I could have inward supply from a registered person. Inward supply from a registered person. Now, anything else you have other than this? I have purchases, which is goods, imports. I have purchases from unregistered person. I have purchases from registered person. All these purchases are summarized in form GSTR-2A or 2B. Now, what is a source for this particular data? What is a source for this particular form GSTR-2A or form GSTR-2B? So this will be updated on the basis of one. On the basis of IceGate portal. On the basis of IceGate portal. That means to say, when Miraj has imported, say, a particular machinery, the machinery has to come through the customs where he would have filed bill of entry, giving a declaration of his IEC number and any other information. Based on that, the import details are furnished available with IceGate portal. Like you have your State Bank of India. Now, when the money has to be, what I can say, money comes into my bank account. From foreign bank, the money deposited into my account gets reflected in my account through your RBI intermediary, that is clearing system, which comes into my bank. Similarly here, for my GST portal, any goods which have been imported through IceGate portal, that gets recorded here. Then second data is on the basis of your registered person who declared the supplies, using form GSTR1, using form GSTR6, GSTR5, GSTR6. Now, what is GSTR1? It is a regular return. GSTR5, NRTP. GSTR6, your ISD, Input Service Distributor. So what is happening here? When my supplier has filed his GSTR1, this data comes and sits in my inward supplier. Similarly, in NRTP, like I gave an example, assuming I have a machinery imported, I need to do a commissioning of machinery. This is a high-end machinery. It takes 6 months for this machinery to be installed. I have one foreigner who came into India who is helping me in the process of installation. That NRTP who files is written in form GSTR5, that data gets furnished to me. Then you have GSTR6. GSTR6 is Input Service Distributor. All my common credits distributed using GSTR6 also comes and gets reported here. Now, one is your IceGate portal, second is registered person, and the third source is self-updation. Self-updation. What is that self-updation? I declare that so much is of my imports of services, import of service. Then my purchases from inward supply from unregistered person. Anything else? That's all. Now, these are the ways where my form GSTR-2A and form GSTR-2B gets updated. Sorry, this self-updation is done directly in my GSTR. I correct this particular statement. I update my form GSTR-3B for import of services manually, inward supplies from unregistered person manually in 3B. Other than this information, input tax credit. One is IceGate portal, second is registered person who filed form GSTR1 or 5 or 6. Now, this is the way where my form GSTR2A or form GSTR2B gets updated. Are we clear before I go further? Students, please let me know. Are we clear with this discussion? I'm just going in a slow and steady manner for you to understand the technical aspects so that the form, how it gets filled up, how the data gets updated is understood. Are there any doubts? Can we go further? Please confirm. Huh? Yes or no? Please confirm. I need little confirmation. Good. Rhymes is clear. Let's go further. Now, Having understood this, next comes is your, please remember this data. Registered person who declares in the supplies. Now, form GSTR1, due date, the due date is 11th of succeeding month. So here, assuming for the month of April 23, May 23, June 23, I just take 3 months. My due date, that is DD, my actual date of furnishing the return. I'm talking about a supplier whose due date is 11th May 2023 for the month of April, 11th June 2023 for the month of May, 11th July 2023 for the month of June. Assuming that the return has been filed by the registered person on, say, 7th May 2023. Instead of 11 in the May month, is filed on 12th May 2023. For the month of June, the return was filed on, say, 15th of, sorry, here it should be May, 15th of July 2023. Now, in this case, there was a delay. In this case, there was a delay. Now, I have form GSTR-2A, form GSTR-2B. Now, for a moment, let me assume that supplier and recipient, I would say recipient. Supplier is, say, for a moment, Viraj. Recipient is, say, Rahim. Now, when Rahim files his return for the month of April 23, this form GSTR-2B is connected with form GSTR-3B. Form GSTR-3B. That means to say, as per the provisions of section 16, subsection 2, clause E. Section 16, subsection 2, clause A. Provision says that only when the inward supplies are communicated, then ITC can be availed. So here, what happens? My GSTR-2B for the month of April 23 is properly updated. So when Rahim files his GSTR-3B for April, all supplies, I repeat, all supplies made by Mr. Viraj during the month of April are communicated to Mr. Rahim for the month of April 23, and input tax is also availed in April 23. I repeat, for the month of April 23, my form GSTR-2B is updated, and this particular April 23 is taken for 3B purpose. Next. Students, I'm just talking only about 2B. I'll come to 2A later point in time. Now, when I travel to May 2023, 11th June is the due date, but for some reason, Viraj has uploaded his return on 12th June 23. I repeat, Viraj has uploaded his return of 11th June 23 on 12th June 23. Now, when Rahim has to file his GSTR-3B, inward supplies of May 23 is not communicated to Mr. Rahim in the month of May, for the reason, since the due date is 11th June 2023, since Viraj has uploaded on 12th June 23, none of those inward supplies will travel to the form GSTR-2B of Mr. Rahim. Because of that reason, for May 23, Rahim cannot claim any ITC. This is in relation to Form GSTR. What does the government say? Government says that because the supplier has defaulted in making a proper compliance, the person who is receiving such goods or services, he cannot avail input tax credit. This is what the provision says. Now let's travel to June. Now for the month of June 23, what happens is any GSTR 1 file from 12th June 2023 to 11th July 2023. I repeat, after the due date of previous month, after the due date. Now for the month of June, I'm talking about the previous month. My previous month, my May due date is over on 11th. Subsequent month starts from 12th. From 12th of June 23 till the due date of June. My June due date is 11th. Till 11th, any written file will be taken into consideration. This is for Form GSTR-3B. Now, last class, Namrata has asked this question. So what happens if the supplier has defaulted? Means delayed in filing his return. Now, in this case, the return pertaining to May 23, which was delayed by a day by Viraj, that inward supply is considered by the return for the month of June. So here, when I travel to GSTR-3B of Rahim, May 23 is picked up. Now let's look at June. For June, again, Viraj ought to be filed on 11th, but he has filed on 15th. So May 23 will be considered and June 23 is ignored. So only this May 23 return is inward supply is going to form GSTR-3B for input tax credit available. So this is how my form GSTR-3B is updated on the basis of due date. That is this particular form GSTR-3B. This is called as a static data. That means to say, whenever you download form GSTR-3B, the data available from the due date for the particular month, that is, so for the month of April, any returns filed by a supplier 1st May till 11th May, only that data is available. This is in relation to form GSTR-3B. I'll hold here just to see any doubts before I come back to GSTR-3B. Students, please let me know, are you clear with this form GSTR-3B? Before I start with form GSTR-3A, are you clear with this understanding of form GSTR-3B? Yes or no? Yes or no? Please confirm. Once you are clear with this form 2B, I'll come back to form GSTR-3A. Now please keep in mind, this is an amended provision for availment of input tax credit. Good evening, Namrata. Clear. Now, let's come back to form GSTR-3A. Namrata, where your question came at the end of previous session, that is what we are discussing. We are discussing form 2A versus 2B. Now, I'll just erase this. Next. Form GSTR-3A. Now, form GSTR-3A is your dynamic data. When I say dynamic, if there is something called online voting. Say, if I have given you a voting window, assuming there are 100 participants who are there in a particular seminar. Now, assuming I have a bar chart, like I have given a question, I've asked you yes or no. Now, when all 100 participants press their answer, yes or no, I can see the results updated in my bar chart, which is in an online voting mechanism. Now, something like that, my form GSTR-2A is always updated, always updated. That means to say, when you download this form GSTR-2A, when you download this form GSTR-2A on, say, for the month of April, for the month of April, this is available on or after 14th May 2023. Please remember, on or after 14th of subsequent month, my form GSTR-2A or form GSTR-2B is updated. So the peculiarity of your form GSTR-2A is any supplies after due date are reflected in form GSTR-2A. That means to say, if for the month of April, if Viraj has file is written on 11th May, this gets updated in 2A. Assuming instead of 11th May, if he files written on 25th May, still it is updated. Sir, if his filing is written on 20th of July, I would say yes, even then it is updated. So here, my return is updated even if there is a delay in filing by the supplier. So here, what is happening? Till form GSTR-2B came into picture, government didn't had a control on the ITC what needs to be allowed for claiming. So the government felt that let's do one thing. Instead of like the form GSTR-2A, when the GST officer has to do assessment, by the time say Namrata downloads a report and she takes the input tax credit, and after 6 months when GST officer downloads this particular 2A, there is a continuous updation to this particular 2A when there was no clarity what credit should have been taken in form GSTR-3B, that is your section 16. So to get away with this particular hurdle, with effect from 1st Jan 2023, new form GSTR-3B and connected with form GSTR-2B was launched, where the government said that only the static data which is available in form 2B will be communicated to form GSTR-2B, and only that credit you are supposed to avail. This is what the GST provision said about your form GSTR-2A and form GSTR-2B. Let me come back to your institute material. Form GSTR-2A. This is a system generated. This is a system generated read-only statement. For what? For inward supplies. Now, please remember, when I talk about my inward supply, there is a data updated on the basis of ISGate portal, on the basis of returns filed for my supplier. My supplier could file GSTR-1, could be GSTR-5, or could be GSTR-6. This statement is updated on real-time basis. Now, when I say real-time basis, even after due date, assuming 11th is the due date, 15th, if my supplier has uploaded the data, this comes and gets updated in my form GSTR-2A. So where do I use this particular form? You have said that this is irrelevant for my GSTR-3B. Where do I use this? I use in my form GSTR-9, which is my annual return. In annual return, there is a table called table number 8. In table number 8, the GST officer is trying to do a reconciliation. One of the fantastic reconciliation. What it says, auto-populated. This is 8A, 8B, ITC avail, 8C, ITC part for next financial year, 8D difference. Now, The GST officers are interested to know how much is the total value of inward supply. What is the purchases you have made? Out of this purchases, how much is the input tax credit you have availed in form GSTR-3B? I'll just come to my PowerPoint presentation. That will be easy for you to understand this particular aspect. Let me just insert one slide. The government officer, that is the GST officer, is interested to know ITC availment position. So what he has made in your GST annual return, that is GSTR-9, there is a table called table number 8. There, they have asked for this information, 8A, ITC available. 8B, ITC availed in form 3B. 8C, ITC availed in next financial year. 8D, gap. Out of that gap, 8E, they asked, what is ineligible? Now, they wanted the register person to explain what is your total inward supply. My 8A is indicating that what is your inward supply. Please remember, this information is only in relation to details furnished by a registered person. Details furnished by a registered person. So here, what is the total value of inward supply? Out of that, how much is the input tax credit you have taken in 3B? And how much is the input tax you have availed in the next financial year? Assuming that 1,000 rupees is the total inward supply. Out of 1,000 rupees, assuming 600 rupees I have taken in the current financial year. And 100 rupees I have taken in subsequent financial year. Out of 1,000, 600 plus 100, 700 gone, you get a gap of 300. They have asked you, is this 300 ineligible input tax credit? What is that you have done with this? So here, relevance to your books of accounts where details of tax payment, details of tax paid versus tax payment. Tax paid, this is on inward supply. Tax paid is on your output tax. This is on your output tax. They asked you to maintain a track. Are you aware how much to take, how much not to take? This is expected in your GST annual return. Let me see any doubts before we go further. Namrat is asking this question. So what if there is a difference between 2A and 2B? This is like this, Namrata. There can never be a difference between value of supplies made by a registered person to a particular recipient. Only on the basis of timing gap, updation in 2A, updation in 2B will happen. It's like this, Namrata. Say, when you're going to exam hall, say assuming you have to go to an exam hall, only a person who has got a hall ticket is permitted to get inside the gate. I repeat, when you are going to examination, only a student who have a valid hall ticket is permitted to get inside the gate. Now, once I get inside the gate, if I come in time manner, I'll go to the exam hall. If I don't come in time, probably I will be returned back from the gate itself. So here, my GSTR 2A and 2B, whatever form GSTR1 is furnished, the data first and foremost get traveled to the recipient. Now 2A and 2B is like your security. 2A, यार आप लेट आए हो, चलो आ जाओ कोई बात नहीं. 2B is very strict, very particular with timing. 2B says यार आपका ड्यू डेट 11th है, आप ना 12th में आया तो आपको ना यहाँ पे पार्क कर लूंगा, नेक्स्ट मंथ पे आपको एलो करूंगा. सो नाउ whatever data has come, 2A and 2B, they generally invoice wise, if you see, data matches. Only the condition is the timing of updation in 2A, the timing of updation in 2B is alone different. Other than this, nothing else is different. Hope I have cleared your doubt, Namrata. This we have discussed. GSTR-3B, last class I have shown you a form. We have discussed how ITC is availed also. Now, there is a circular 26 of 2017, which is important for us to understand. Now, I have mentioned a point called there is no mechanism for rectification. Sorry, there is no mechanism for revision of return. However, I can only revision not permitted. Rectification is allowed. So here, figures to be reported on net basis in 3B, along with past period, if any, in the current tax period. So here, my form GSTR 3B, what this is that, assuming I have month 1, month 2, month 3, I have reported, say 100 rupees instead of 120. I have reported, say 80 rupees instead of 100 rupees. In month 3, my actual is to be reported is say 120. Along with this 120, the gap of this 20, the gap of this 20, I can report my month 1 20, my month 2 20 in month 3. This is where I can say figures to be reported on net basis along with past period, if any. So I cannot revise, but I'm rectifying whatever the supply ought to be reported in month 1, month 2, I'm reporting in month 3. This is my one-off rectification. Alternatively, sir, आप shortfall के लिए बता रहे हैं. Suppose if I paid excess tax, क्या करना है? Now, I'll give an example, practical scenario. Like, let me introduce one slide. I'll just give a practical example where we have come across this sort of situation. I'll give this way, period, I'll say tax period, then details of supply, then say IGST, CGST, SGST. Say tax period, details of supply. Tax period is say month 1. My details of supply, outward supply, is say 1000. This is my tax portion. So 1000, 600, 600. Month 1, there is a excess reporting. How much is excess? this IGST 200 was excess reported. And CGST, say 50 rupees, SGST 50 rupees was reported. Month 2, my actual supply. Say actual supply for month 2 is 350. The tax, what I'm saying, 200 and 200. So what I can do in month 2, adjust month 1 excess. So whatever I have paid extra, 200 I'm going to adjust, 50 I'm going to adjust, 50 I'm going to adjust. And net reporting 150, 150, 150. This is something which is permissible as per Circular 26 of 2017. Most of us, when we file GST returns, there are plenty of mistakes we do. Why is that it happens? One, the data which I have picked up, most of us do this common mistake. Sir, मैंने ना जुलाई रिटर्न कॉपी करके उसको अगस्त डेटा भर रहा हूं. When I use the return of July, सर जुलाई में एक आउटवर्ड सप्लाई 1000 rupees का है. गलती से I have not amended the 1000 rupees. I have carried as it is for August and I have uploaded that particular return. So the tendency is when I use the Excel spreadsheets of previous months without changing the values for the current month. That is one reason. Second, so when I have exported my data from Tally, common mistake. I don't know how many of you have noticed this. When you export your output tax register, say your credit notes and debit notes, all your credit notes and debit notes, there is no plus and minus. Everything comes as 1000 CR, 500 CR. CR is your credit. So debit notes without any symbol. Now, accountant who doesn't know that there is no plus and minus symbol, possibility of adding all the credit notes and disclosing. In debit notes, which is coming in a positive sign, credit note also coming in a positive sign. I add it and show. So in case if you have these kind of mistakes, this is how you can do. So assuming for a moment, month one, I have excess reported 200, and in month 2, instead of 350, let's say for IGST, I have this way. My actual supply for IGST is only 100 rupees. My actual supply for IGST is 100. So if I want to adjust for month 1, I can adjust only to the extent of 100 and I'll report nil. Now, what will happen to the balance 100? Now, from month 3 onwards, assuming that there is no interstate supply. Now, most of you will come across this particular practical issue. Sir, I have made an interstate supply, but my business is such a manner that I never will have an interstate supply. I am going to make only intrastate supply. Galti se na, month 1, I have paid 200 rupees extra. Month 1, I have paid 200 rupees extra. I have adjusted out of 200, 100 rupees. What will I do for the balance 100 rupees? Answer for that is file a refund application. File a refund application under excess category, under excess payment category. So when you select this particular excess payment category, whatever tax you have paid extra, you can claim refund back from the GST department. This is one provision which is very, very important from practical application point of view. Let me see any doubts before we go further. In GSTR-9 form, GSTR-2E data is taken. Namrata is asking this question. Sir, what data we will take in form GSTR-9? So for the purpose of GSTR-9, form GSTR-2A is relevant. For the purpose of GSTR-3B, 2B data is relevant. I repeat once again. Let me just write here. For GSTR-3B, the data available in form GSTR-2B is relevant. For GSTR-2A, sorry, GSTR-9. For GSTR-9, the data available in form GSTR-2A is relevant. So there is a different source coming to different form. If you ask me, so why is that so? Why is that there is a dichotomy or difference of data? Answer is when GST came into picture, when the architecture was designed, when GSTR-9 was designed, only form GSTR-2A was in place. In fact, when I'm getting more and more practical. When you refer to provisions of section 38, which deals with your inward supply, This inward supply, as per the original architecture, form GSTR-2 should have been in picture. Now, most of you are aware, there are practical issues, challenge issues in software design. So when GST law was launched, form GSTR-1, form GSTR-2, form GSTR-3. These were envisaged. This is for outward supply, this is for inward supply, and this is for payment of tax. Unfortunately, the technical support was not available. So what they have done, they dropped GSTR-2. They continued with GSTR-1. They dropped GSTR-3. As a stopgap arrangement, initially 3B was launched. Where Gujarat, there is a chartered accountant firm called Aadhar & Co. People who are interested, I would recommend read this judgment of Gujarat High Court, Aadhar & Co. chartered accountant firm, where they have challenged that Rule 61 talks only about GSTR-3. Nowhere this form GSTR-3B was notified. By virtue of this chartered accountant firm have challenged applicability of provisions of section 50 for interest and provisions of section 47 for late fees. Now, chartered accountant can read in between the lines. This was proved in this particular case where this firm of chartered accountant said, look, when I read section 39, read with corresponding rule 61, only form GSTR-3 was there. 3B, though it was notified, never this rule corresponding to section 39 have introduced form 3B. Based on this particular argument, October 2019, what did the government do? Government have retrospectively notified form GSTR-3B in lieu of form GSTR-3. Now, not to accept their mistake, they have ratified this particular blunder and they enforced interest. They also enforced late fees. Now, is this the matter restricted only to interest, restricted only to late fee? Connected with this provisions, there's one more provision called section 16, subsection 4, which deals with time limit for availment of input tax credit. Time limit for availment of input tax credit. Now, all those cases where my input tax credit pertaining to financial year 2017-18, where form GSTR-3B filed during financial year 2018-19, these were challenged by the department for restricting the input tax credit, invoking provisions of 16.4. Many of chartered accountants, many of the tax practitioners, they relied upon this Gujarat High Court judgment and said that since you have not enrolled Form GSTR-3B, my GSTR-3 also was not in picture, 3B was not in picture, please allow me to file my GSTR-3B, also allow my input tax credit. These are the challenges which were questioned. Unfortunately, this citation revenue, the GST department have challenged in Supreme Court. Supreme Court have set aside this Gujarat High Court judgment and it was given as a favor to the revenue. In case, few court matters, we cannot say we have to honor the judgment of the Supreme Court. Because the Supreme Court said this 3B was notified retrospectively in section 39, read with rule 61. All the questions of this 1718 input tax credit, demand of interest, 47 late fee, everything was upheld. This is a connecting matter where since 3 was not there, 3B was came into picture. Since 2 was not there, initially in October 2018, Form GSTR-2A was launched on a pilot basis. It took 4 years. For the government to launch something called Form GSTR-2B. Now, as we were progressing in our business with filing of returns, GST portal also took a while to understand how to control the business. That's how this Form GSTR-2B came into picture. So this is a background, Namrata, where any data which comes into 2A, any data which comes into 2B, generally there will not be any difference. Barring the difference, what point in time 2A is updated, what point in time 2B is updated. And again, to answer your question, Namrata, something is going to GSTR 9, something is going to GSTR 2B. Probably 23-24 financial year onwards, my GSTR 9 will be linked to Form GSTR 2B, not to GSTR 2A. So, but this one question, this is the background why we are studying this particular 2A at one place, 2B at another place. Returns for composition supplier, very simple. Section 39, read with rule 62. On a quarterly basis, CMP 08 is a form used for payment of tax. On a quarterly basis, the composition dealer on or before 18th of the month following the subsequent quarter, the tax needs to be paid by the composition person. Examination, don't worry much with the due dates. Reason 21st, 22nd, 24th, 25, 18, 15, 14, plethora of dates are there. And many times, not only for COVID, like recent northeastern states, but the state of Meghalaya, continuously for the period of June, July, August, the due dates were extended right from, I believe, May 23 onwards. So because the due dates were extending pretty frequently, they would not ask the due date. But what is the periodicity in payment of taxes? In case of a composition person, please remember the tax needs to be paid on quarterly basis and the form uses Form CMP 8. What is the due date? 18th of the month following the quarter. This form CMP 08 has to be filed. And this composition dealer person on an annual basis, he has to furnish a form called GSTR 4 on or before 30th April. This 30th April is nothing but a compilation of all 4 CMP 08 in this particular GSTR 4. Now, in this particular CMP 08, whatever purchases are there, I have to make a manual entry for data which is not forthcoming in relation to imports or any data, and there is auto-populated information. Nil return is compulsory, though there are no transactions, I am supposed to file nil return. NRTP. NRTP is a very simple return, notified in Form GSTR 5. No monthly statement of what was supposed to be filed. And this particular form GSTR-5 is good enough, which consists of details of outward supply. All sales made to the customers will be furnished in particular GSTR-5. Also, what is the input tax available will be shown in this inward supply. And the due date is 13th of subsequent month. This form GSTR-5 has to be made. Payment of tax within 20 days from the end of the tax period, he has to make the payment of tax. Form GSTR-6. This is a ISD return, input service distributor. Let me just come to your GSTR-6. I'll open the PDF for your better understanding. Form GSTR-6. Let me see any doubts before we go further. Yeah. Return for input service distributor. Table number 3. Input tax credit received for distribution. Received for distribution. So here I have GST wise invoice details and amount of IGST, CGST, SGST. Please remember, the data of distribution could be from regular GST number or other supplier. Like example, to give an example, now let's take example of say Hero Motors. I'll give an example of say advertisement. Second is your tax audit. Advertisement, say this is a bill given to say one particular state. Tax audit is built on ISD. So as a service provider, whatever GST number is given, I will select that. Please remember, my GST number for ISD, my GST number for regular business is different. I repeat, my GST number for ISD, my GST number for regular business is different. So here, I can give my GST number for the purpose of billing. So for a moment, for advertisement purpose, I gave my regular GST number. To my supplier. So when that supplier bills on me, that will come into my regular window. What I will do, this particular regular ITC, from regular GST number, I bill back to ISD. I may be sounding Greek and Latin. Let me come back to my PowerPoint presentation to make you understand this. I'll insert another slide. Starting point, registration. I have regular, I have ISD. Please keep in mind, these two are separate registrations available. So what is relevant here? When the supplier bills, when the supplier does a billing, he can bill directly to ISD GSTN, or he can bill to regular GSTN. So anything which is coming to regular ISD, this is already available in table number 3. This is available in table number 3. In case if the ISD is coming to regular GSTN, this will be billed back to ISD GST number. Assuming for a moment, my regular GST number is say 29 AO R X, say some digit 1ZY. My ISD number is 29 AO R XXX, say 2WB. Now here, this is my regular number, this is my ISD number. So what I will do, from 1ZY, I'll bill back to 2WB. A tax invoice will be issued. Tax invoice will be issued for transferring ITC. What I'm doing, I'm transferring from regular GST number to my ISD GST number. This is what I will do. Are we clear? Now, how this transfer happens? What are the nuances available here? Let's have a detailed discussion after the break. We are at 7:32. Let's meet back at 7:42. continue with our discussion. ISD and registration, regular registration, ISD. Both are two different numbers. So here, any credit which has come to regular GST, this particular credit can always be transferred to ISD. So why do I do this transfer? What will happen? The purpose of this particular transfer is for distribution. So why I need to do this? Can't I do the transfer from regular number to other GSTN using a tax invoice? Answer would be, this is permissible till October 2023, effect from 51st GST Council meeting. They made that it has to be mandatory that any common credits, the distribution has to be made using ISD only. This is a mandate. That is the reason we use the credit from regular GST number to the ISDN. So what I will do, first and foremost, I'll see what all credit is available in table number 3. Next, table number 4. Total ITC, that is eligible ITC, ineligible ITC, to be distributed for a particular tax period from table number 3. So this particular table 4, I'll say that total ITC available for distribution, of that, what is the amount eligible, what is the amount ineligible. I'm trying to identify this data as eligible data, as ineligible data. Please keep in mind, provisions of section 20, I have to distribute both eligible and ineligible. These are mandated as per section 20. So as an input service distributor, whatever has come, I'm going to distribute that particular ITC. What I will do? Now, the next question comes here, the challenge comes here. Distribution of this ITC as per table 4 in table 5. Assuming I have, let me just come to my PowerPoint. Yeah. Now the challenge comes here only. What is that? ISD to regular GST. So here, available to transfer. Now available credit is IGST. I have to transfer this IGST as CGST and SGST. Available credit is CGST and SGST. I can transfer this as IGST. Now, this is a peculiarity of table number 5. Why I have to do this? Like assuming my ISD number is 33. My regular GST number is 29. My ISD number is 33. My ISD number is 33. My ISD number is 33 and to be distributed is also 33. So for a moment, let's assume that in scenario number 1, my statutory auditor has billed as IGST. My statutory auditor has billed as IGST. So whatever has been billed as IGST, now when I have to transfer, say from Tamil Nadu to transfer to Tamil Nadu. So what I will do, I convert this I as C and S. Alternatively, I received a advertisement bill to the state of Tamil Nadu, but this pertains to Karnataka. So when I have received as CGST and SGST, I'll be billing as IGST. I'll be distributing as IGST. So this is how the complexity comes for the purpose of distribution. Now, In the process of this, I would say there is something called tax planning. There is something called tax planning. So what is the tax planning which is available? What is the tax planning which is available? I'll give you this way. Assuming that there is a ISD, there's a ISD in the state of Tamil Nadu, in the state of Tamil Nadu. And I have, say, branch, or I have, say, regular registration in Maharashtra. Regular registration in Maharashtra. In addition to ISD, I also have regular registration in Tamil Nadu. Let's take example. Say, employee pertaining to Maharashtra has traveled to Tamil Nadu for a particular meeting. There is a hotel accommodation. There is also something called, say, travel expense. Now, hotel accommodation, say to some extent, block credit under 17.5. Travel, again, say it is block credit under 17.5. Now, for a moment, let us assume that this particular credits or this bills, let the service provider bill to regular GSTN. Bill to regular GSTN. From regular GSTN, let this be billed to, let there be a cross charge. Let there be a cross charge to Maharashtra GSTN. How? As a, say, event management, or as, say, event management. That means to say, when an employee is coming from Maharashtra to Tamil Nadu, hotel accommodation, local travel, food, etc. Generally, it is block credit. Now, we are saying that my branch, which is there in Tamil Nadu, is undertaking an event management. They are doing a hotel booking. They are doing a travel booking. They are also arranging for food, etc. All that is a cost, assuming that for that cost, 10% margin is added as per rule number 30. 10% is added and the value of supply is derived. This value supply is cross-charged. In case of Maharashtra, they say that, look, this is for my business trip. Anything in relation to furtherance of business, it is an eligible credit. This is one particular occasion where tax planning can be done. Example number 1. Example number 2. This is example number 1. Example number 2. Say there is an entity called XYZ Limited. There is a company called XYZ Limited. They have registration in state 1, state 2, state 3, state 4. They have registration of 4 states. Majority of the activity happens in state 1. Majority of the activity happens in state 1. There's a support function. There's a support function and very nominal billing happening in all these states. Now, let us assume that there is an ISD number here. There is a ISD number, ISD registration state. When an employee travels and stays in a hotel in this particular state, and you all know provisions of section 12, subsection 3 of IGST, which deals with your place of supply provisions, the service provider, that is hotel, is in the state 2 and also place of supply state 2. So this gets converted as SGST, CGST. Now, I don't have sufficient credits in output tax in state 2. So what I will do, I'll ask the hotel person, please bill to my ISD number of state 2. From ISD of state 2, I transfer to state 1 as IGST. Now here, the credit of C&S is getting converted as IGST and is getting traveled to state 1. Now, this is one of the way a tax planning can be done. I'm just giving you the purpose why IGST came into picture. So ISD came into picture and how you can, as an expert, can give advice. At this level, I'm just giving you the concepts how ISD can be utilized. Coming back. Table number 6, amendments. Any mistakes I have done in the previous one, I can do amendments in table 6. Table 7, input tax mismatch, reclaim to be distributed in the tax period. Now, input tax mismatch, input tax reclaim on rectification of mistake. Assuming that I have a bill for 100 rupees, my vendor has given for 120. So, in this particular table, for which particular month this particular mismatch occurred and how much is the credit has been reclaimed because of mismatch. Then corrections of table 6 and 7, that is amendments and reclaim are transferred using table number 8. Table number 9, in case if I did a mistake, instead of billing to state 1, I billed to state 2 using ISD, I can do a rectification. And all of you are aware, in case if I don't file this written in timely manner, late fee provisions are triggered. This is connected with my ISD provisions. Written for ISD, this is a monthly written in form GSTR-6. My due date is 13th of subsequent month. Why? This data travels to form GSTR-3B. For that purpose, any data which needs to be furnished in section 39, for the purpose of GSTR-6, on or before 13th, I have to file my return. This is a monthly return. If it is a nil return, file this particular nil return. Next, TDS. TDS, I have explained you at large the provisions connected with the government, ISD, this state government, central government, or this public sector undertaking, local authority, etc. So for them, they say that whatever TDS you have deducted, within 10 days, you need to deposit. And form GSTR-7 is a form through which the data will be furnished. Any data which is communicated through form GSTR-7, this will be traveled to the recipient in cash ledger. Cash ledger. Provisions of section 51 connected with TDS provisions. And we have seen the notified persons in the previous class. My due date of payment is linked with the return. Because I have to file by 10, the money also needs to be deposited by 10. Now, section 40 is a first return way. Generally, what we will do, assuming that there is a triggering point. There is a triggering point for registration. I applied for registration on, say, 1st of April. 1st of April. My registration has been approved on, say, 15th of May. 15th of May. So here, during this period, 1st April to 15th May, I cannot sit idle. I have to do my business. So the GST provision says that whenever you are doing your business, because you cannot stop doing your business, you have to issue an invoice. Your customer may not be eligible to take the invoice, but you have to issue a tax invoice for the supply, whatever you have done. All those transactions which took place between the date of application, to the date of approval. My approval may be done from the date of application or from the date based on your eligibility criteria, based on the day you filed, various reasons, various conditions. So the gap between the day you filed your application and the day your application is approved, this particular gap, I have to file a written called this first written. This is applicable only for outward supplies. This is a very simple written. E-commerce, at length you have discussed. I'll skip the provisions of e-commerce. Annual returns. Annual returns is a pretty lengthy chapter where my annual returns are connected with all time of supply, your valuation, your input tax credit availment, your block credits, reversal of input tax credit, then filing a refund application, summary of your outward supplies, the time limit under 16.4 for availment of input tax credit, your interest paid, your penalty paid, your refund claim, if any, all aspects connected with your assessment for a particular financial year, I file a return called annual return. Annual return is generally, as the name goes, annual. It is for a particular financial year. Section 44 deals with your annual return. This annual return is not applicable except casual taxable person, NRTP, ISD, TDS, TCS, OIDL. Except these persons, rest all people are supposed to file annual return. My due date for filing annual return is 31st December of subsequent year to the year which annual return pertains. For a financial year 21-22, or for financial year 21-22, my due date to file annual return. My due date to file annual return is 31st December 2022. And they have notified Form GSTR-9 is a return to be filed. 9A is for person who is registered under Section 10 for composition return. Along with your GSTR-9, they also have notified a particular form called reconciliation statement. Reconciliation statement. What is a reconciliation statement? This gives a explanation. What is the turnover? What is the aggregate turnover as per financials versus your aggregate turnover as per GST. I could have various reasons why there is a difference. All those reasons are explained using my reconciliation statement called 9C. Now, I'll do one thing. I'll come to your institute material to explain further these aspects. Students, we have one MCQ. I'll finish this GST returns part and then we will take up the MCQ of revision. GSTR-9 we have discussed. Quarterly return QRMP scheme we have discussed. Option of QRMP scheme. In case if my aggregate turnover is exceeding 5 crore, the point in time when your aggregate turnover exceeds 5 crore, you will exit from QRMP scheme, you will come back to the regular scheme. And the due dates for making the payment for any person who is in the states given in this table, 22nd. And there's one more table where the due date is specified as 24th. I'll see if any doubts before we go further. Supplier billing, not clear. Namrata, is this in relation to ISD where you're asking the supplier billing is not clear? Let me know, ma, what exactly you're not clear. Is it in relation to a supplier who's billing directly to ISD or supplier billing to regular? What is it you're not clear? Any person who is not having any transactions is supposed to file nil GST return. It is compulsory. And time limit prescribed for filing GSTR-3B. This is an amendment which came in 2022 by virtue of Finance Act, where they say maximum time limit up to which a registered person can furnish written in Form 3B is for a period of 3 years from the due date of furnishing such return. And this time limit can be extended by the government for a registered person or class of registered person. Contents of GSTR-3B I have explained you in the last class. Revision I have explained. Time limit for rectification 30th November. This also we have discussed. Now they are saying that return can be considered as a valid return only when this self-assessed tax has been paid. Now, as on today, without paying the tax, my returns are not uploaded. Unlike income tax, in income tax, you can file a return with the tax due. But in case of GST, unless I have paid tax, I cannot upload a return. Filing of a return for current month is possible only when returns of previous month is filed. And GSTR for the same tax period has been furnished. Without filing GSTR1, say for month 3, GSTR1, GSTR3B. If GSTR1 is not filed, I cannot file Form GSTR3B. Similarly, say month 4, without filing GSTR1 and 3B for previous month, I cannot file my GSTR1 for month number 4. GSTR4, this is a composition return. We have discussed who is a composition person and what are the conditions that is Form GSTR4 annual return, CMP08, which is a quarterly return. Filing nil return CMP8 is compulsory. I, as a registered person, now this is where most of you, when you start your career, when you start your practice, you would come across this kind of situation where assessee who is a regular taxpayer, he'll come and say, sir, please allow me to move into composition. There is a form where you make a declaration and say, look, my annual turnover is less than 1.5 crore. Allow me to convert from regular scheme to composition scheme. After a point in time, again the client come back and say, sir, please push me from composition to regular. Now this is something which is very common. Now, as a regular taxpayer, when you are shifting to composition, then you have to opt for composition. From composition, you need to file something for exit from composition. Now, when you are moving from regular to composition, what you have to do, whatever GSTR1 or whatever 3B relating to the period prior to composition, that has to be filed till the due date of furnishing the return for the month of September. That is the due date, whatever they have specified. You have to file all those returns till the due date of September pertaining to the financial year or furnishing annual returns. I have to file my GSTR1 and 3B, then come to my composition scheme. Similarly, from composition to regular, whatever CMP08 or GSTR4 you are supposed to file, you file those forms and then come back to regular. So filing is something, you cannot say just because I shifted from composition to regular, I need not file CMP08. Straight away I'll file GST1. They'll say no. For that period, where you are under composition, file Form CMP08 after the relevant quarter. I repeat once again, assuming April to May, May to June, June to July. This is April, this is May, this is June. On a particular point in time, I'll call, say this is 20th June 2023. I am moving from composition to regular. Please keep in mind, when you are doing so, you will file CMP08 for April, May, and part of June. Similarly, you will file GSTR1 for June 23. So here, as a person, now you need not declare your turnover from April till part of June in this GSTR1. Only from 20th June till 30th June, you will declare your turnover here. In case of CMP08, from 1st April 2023 till 20th June 2023, you will file CMP08. Now, this is one important aspect where you should not confuse the turnover declaration in CMP08, the turnover declaration in form GSTR1. This is one important aspect you need to remember. Moving further, GSTR5, we have discussed, is a monthly return. It should be furnished within 30 days. Why? The recipient to claim input tax credit. The due date for filing this return is 13th. GSTR6, I have explained in detail. My due date again for GSTR6 is 13th. Filing a nil return for GSTR5, GSTR6 is compulsory. If I don't file my nil return, sir, interest लगेगा. Sorry, late fee लगेगा. Let me see if there are any doubts. Okay, there are no doubts. Let's go further. GSTR 7, this is for TDS return. This also we have discussed. Due date for payment of tax. All my tax payments are connected with due date for filing of return. GSTR-3B, GSTR-5, GSTR-7. Now, CMP08, when I file my CMP08, that is on 18th of subsequent quarter, that is a point in time, I'll make the payment of tax. This QRMP scheme I have explained with an example, fixed sum method, self-assessment. Examination, please expect one 4 marks question where they'll give you a problem to calculate both methods, how the tax needs to be computed. Interest also I have explained. Form 40, GSTR first return under section 40. This also we have discussed. That is GSTR 8. Annual returns we have discussed. TCS Form 9B is not notified yet. Next. Who is required to file self-certified reconciliation statement? So here, the government says that any registered person whose aggregate turnover during a financial year exceeds 5 crore has to file a reconciliation statement. However, these people A, B, C, D, they never file GSTR 9. Reconciliation statement also is not required. Only aspect you need to remember is any registered person whose aggregate turnover is exceeding 5 crore, they are supposed to file GSTR 9C. GSTR 9C. GSTR 9C, initially it was a CA certificate or CMA certificate. Now it is also self-certificate. No need to have any professional support for this. Now, exemption filing for filing GST annual return. Now, these are the people who are exempted from filing GSTR 9. Who are those? The Department of Central, State or Local Authority. The Department of Central, State or Local Authority, whose books of accounts are subject to audit. By C&AG. Or an auditor appointed for auditing the books of accounts of local authorities under any law for time being in force are exempt from annual requirement. C&AG or any other auditor appointed for their audit books of accounts. So all those institutions where C&AG conducts an audit or an auditor appointed for auditing their books of accounts, they are exempted from filing their GSTR 9. Final return within 30 days of closing your, within 3 months of cancellation or order for cancellation after 5. UIN for the purpose of filing a refund application. the person who is getting this unique identity number, they have to file GSTR 11. Now, default. Default is for your late fee. But again, this is just an amount, students. Examination, they will not test you what is a late fee per day. So they have given institute material, they have given this table, delay filing GSTR 1 or 3B. So they have given this 500 rupees, 2,000, 5,000, 10,000, etc. This is based on various conditions. Like a registered person who have to file nil return, for them 250 or 500 rupees under C&S. For every day, it is 10 rupees, whichever is less, that would be applicable as late fee. Any registered person who's other than nil return and whose aggregate turnover is less than 1.5 crore, they have to pay 50 rupees, that is 25 per day. Maximum of 1,000 rupees under CGST and 1,000 rupees under SGST. So when you are studying these provisions, examination, they may not be relevant from post-qualification point of view. What is important is how many months there is a delay. For each of month, you need to calculate separately. Assuming that there are 10 returns which are defaulted, 10 GSTR 1s. For 10 months, they are not filed. So when I file my GSTR 1, they calculate this 25 per day, maximum of 1,000 under each head. Assuming it is coming around like 25 rupees per day basis, 2,500. Because the maximum ceiling is 1,000 plus 1,000, 2,000 per return will be there. Assuming there are 10 months which were delayed more than 2 years, what I will do? 2,000 into 10 months, I have to pay 20,000, 20,000. Sorry, 10,000, 10,000 put together 20,000. This is one exposure in relation to late fees. GST practitioner. Now, this is one like your income tax practitioner. This is like a Subida provider. Like, as I say, ease of doing business. Examination. Explain the provisions connected with ease of doing business. One provision you can talk about QRMP scheme. One provision, QRMP scheme, ease of doing business. Second is your GSTP, where the government has enrolled this GSTR-3B who happens to be a professional with basic knowledge, who can assist for registration, for returns, for refund, for explanation, etc. All these are the connected provisions with respect to GSTR-TP. That is your GST practitioner. Who can become a GST practitioner? They have mentioned here. A postgraduate or a postgraduate or equivalent examination having a degree in commerce, law, banking, higher auditing or business administration, business management from Indian university established by any law for timing in force. Examination MCQ question. All these qualifications they'll say, instead of Indian university, they'll say Harvard University. Please remember, for this particular GSTP enrollment, only those degrees which are recognized by Indian university by any law force for timing in force are relevant. Then degree or examination of any foreign university recognized by any Indian university as equivalent. Only if it is recognized, it is important. If it is not recognized, that is not to be computed for enrollment. Any other examination notified by the government on recommendation of the council. Any degree examination of Indian university or any foreign university recognized again by an Indian university. Now they have given basic designation. Having passed the final examination of CES, ES or CMA. Now this comes at the fag end. You like once you get qualified, you can also enroll for GSTP. But I would say as a chartered accountant practitioner, we are good enough to be called as a practicing chartered accountant. Now, what activities can be done? Furnish GSTR 1, furnish annual return, deposit of tax into credit ledger, cash ledger, furnish e-way bill, preparation of delivery chalan, amendments to registration, then payment of tax under composition, filing a refund application, also allowed to appear as an authorized representative. Now, this is something important. Section 116 talks about authorized representation. Generally, a chartered accountant, cost accountant, or a company secretary, or a GSTP. These are the people who are permitted to participate in authorization or appearance before the GST officer. These are the basic provisions why someone who is not a qualified chartered accountant who thinks to get themselves enrolled as a GSTP. Now, assuming for a moment, now MCQ question for 2 marks. Say, Rahim has enrolled himself as a GSTP. Namrata, who is a registered person, have appointed Rahim to file her return on for a particular month. I put it this way. Let me just write down. Say, Rahim is your GSTP. And say Namrata is a registered person. For the month of, say, April 23, 3B has been filed. How? GSTR-3B, GST Practitioner has supported in filing the return for Namrata. During September 23, a show cause notice under section 73 has been issued, saying that there is a short payment of tax. There is a short payment of tax. Now, question comes here. Can Namrata show that, look, I have engaged the GSTP called Rahim. He did a mistake in filing a return. I am nowhere responsible. So here, please keep in mind, responsibility for correctness of any particulars furnished in a return or details furnished by a GSTP continues to rest with the registered person on whose behalf such return and details are furnished. So the registered person before confirming should ensure that the facts mentioned in the return are true and correct. Examination, please remember, true and correct. It's not true and fair. So in this case, Namrata cannot take a shelter that, sir, I have engaged GSTP, so please issue show cause notice to Mr. Rahim. Answer would be incorrect. Now, this point in time, I'll bring you one aspect connected with Rule 88C. Rule 88C, which is connected with the difference between GSTR-1 and GSTR-3B. Let me come to my presentation. I'll just insert one slide. Now, Rule 88C, wherein a difference in GSTR-1 versus GSTR-3B. Now, this is a provision where the assessee, the registered tax person who happens to be a defaulter, could be a willful or could be unintentional. Now, why this particular 88C has come in, if I have to give a background. Now, all of us are aware provisions of section 16, which deals with your input tax credit. Now, let me assume that, say, Viraj happens to be a supplier. Aniket happens to be a recipient. Viraj happens to be a supplier. Aniket happens to be a recipient. Now, month 1, month 2, month 3. Month 1, say supply is for, I'm talking about, say, value of supply. My value of supply is 10,000. GSTR-1 is also filed for 10,000. Month 2, my buyer, my customer, like Viraj will say, because Aniket has supplied for 10,000, also file is written for 10,000, let me buy from Viraj. So month 2, he increases his purchase, he purchases for 20,000. Aniket files his GSTR-1 for 20,000. Now, Viraj feels, look, I'm happy. Aniket is filing his returns properly. So he increases his purchase from 20,000 to 50,000. Aniket also reports his supply for 50,000. Now, this is the case of GSTR. Now, assuming if I have to compare as a GST officer, I call myself as a proper officer. As a proper officer, when I look into the GST statement filed by Aniket, in month 1, he has declared 10,000. Month 2, he has declared again 10,000. Month 3, again he has declared 10,000. Now, this is where Rule 88C comes into picture. Let me just see where we have in our institute material. There is a reference to Rule 88C in page number 13.13. Let me come to your institute material. Yeah. Everyone, please come to page number 13.13. Please come to 13.13. I'll just read 13.13 again. I'll come back to your explanation. Look at this provision. A registered person to whom intimation has been issued on common portal under Rule 88C in respect of a tax period shall not be allowed to furnish details of outward supply 1 or IFF for a subsequent period unless he has either deposited the amount specified in the state limitation or has furnished a reply. He has to pay either the tax amount, which is gap, or he has to furnish a reply why that particular tax need not be paid. So, the provisions connected with this Rule 88C says that whenever your supplier has furnished his return, it is duty of this particular supplier has to make the payment of this tax as notified. Now, please come to page number 13.23. Please come to page number 13.23. 13.23, where they have explained Rule 88C provisions. Where the tax payable by a registered person in accordance with the statement of outward supply. Please remember my outward supply statement can be furnished in either in form GSTR-1 or using IFF. In respect of a tax period exceeds the amount of tax payable by such person in accordance with the return for that period furnished by him in form GSTR-3B. So here, whatever tax declared in this one or IFF is higher than the data furnished in GSTR-3B. Now let me come back to my PowerPoint presentation. Let me just come to my presentation. So here, if you see my month 1, there is no issue. Whatever I have declared in my GSTR-1 is perfectly matching with my GSTR-3. When I look at month 2, my data in my GSTR-1 is higher compared to my data which is there in GSTR-3B. Now, here the provisions say, I'll come back to institute material. They say that wherever the value in GSTR-1 is higher compared to GSTR-3B, what does the provision say? Such register person shall be intimated in the prescribed form electronically on the common portal. So they have notified a particular form, GSTR-1B, DRC-01B, using which they are communicated. So I, as a person in this example, assuming that Aniket is a recipient, Aniket has the choice either to pay that particular tax or explain why this particular tax is explained for the reason of the difference within a period of 7 days. So here, the GST portal is watching, the proper officer is observing what is that you're doing. Are you a willful defaulter or you're doing your business properly? If you are doing your business properly, then please explain why this difference has come. Now, whenever I pay the tax, the provision says that whenever you're paying the amount, pay the amount along with interest under section 50. Your mere payment of tax is not good enough. Pay the tax with interest or give a reason why you're not supposed to pay. Now I'll come back to your the reasons what could be for this gap. When you look at this particular gap, you have a choice either to pay or to explain the reason. Now, please remember there is a circular 26 of 2017, wherein Aniket would say, sir, while filing my return of say M11 and M12 of previous financial year. In my previous financial year, I have paid the tax. Unfortunately, I have paid more than what I'm supposed to pay. Now, he will give an explanation using this particular form called DRC-01B, where he will say, sir, please look at my M11 of previous financial year and M12 of previous financial year. Say I have paid already 30,000. Out of that 30,000, balance 20,000 I'm using here or 10,000 I'm utilizing here. So I have to give an explanation. So either you pay this or you give an explanation. Say explanation is given. This explanation, if it is not satisfied, then what does the proper officer do? Proper officer shall block filing of GSTR-1 or IFF till he gets a proper explanation. So now, as a proper officer, what the government officer will do? He will block you from filing your return. You can never file your return, nor you can get any e-waybill transactions. Subsequent to this, what will happen? Cancellation. Cancellation of GSTL. Section 29. Under section 29. So, you might be smart for month 1. You might be smart for month 2. Please keep in mind, there is something called ARMS. This is a software used by the GST department where this is a audit risk management system. There is a trigger the moment you file a GSTR-1, you file GSTR-3B. There is connected provisions where section 75 deals with this particular mismatch. You are very smart to convince your customer. The moment you file GSTR-1, customer says, my supplier is very prompt. Whatever value I has given in invoice, he furnished his statement. But please wait and watch. There is a mismatch of this rule 88C and this one. They're going to catch hold of you. Notice for default, we have discussed. Late fee, we have discussed. Now, students, we are at 8:32. We will quickly come back to MCQ, which is as good as a revision of my previous discussion on tax invoice, documents under GST, payment of taxes, and another miscellaneous provisions. For your understanding, I have uploaded this particular MCQ in your notes section. Please download this and let us discuss this particular chapter. Now, let's start with our MCQ. I'll give 2 minutes or I'll give you 1 minute. Who are all listening to me, please download this MCQ. Let us solve these particular problems to have a revision of all discussion we had till now. I'll give you a minute. Please go to your window. You can see on 25th November, for practice purpose, I have uploaded this MCQ. And confirm once you are ready with this MCQ. Please confirm once you are ready with this MCQ. Can we start? Please confirm. Can we start MCQ? Are you ready? Shall we start with our MCQs? Revision of our previous discussion. I need a confirmation, ma'am. I'm waiting for you. Rahim says it is not there. Okay. In the note section, it will be there, Rahim. In the note section, it is uploaded, ma'am. If you go to your assignment, under assignment portion, it is there. Under assignments portion, it is there. Okay. If not, what I will do, I'll ask the Board of Studies to upload once again. Let us have our discussion. Hope this screen is visible, students. First question. Compute the tax payable on the basis of following information. Compute the tax payable on the basis of following information. Mrs. Basu and Co. LLP, a registered person in Tamil Nadu, have received below payments. Serial number 1, 15th June 2022, advance received for services from Mr. A. No clarity towards place of supply and GST rate. I repeat, 15th June 2022, advance is received for services to be rendered from Mr. A. So this company, this entity, Basu and Co. LLP, they have received a money of rupees 1 lakh. They have received a money of 1 lakh from Mr. A. There is no clarity towards place of supply and GST rate. So how do you calculate GST? Please write your answer in your working note. I'll discuss this. Serial number 2. For serial number 2, they say that. For serial number 2, 18th June 2022, amount paid to a parent company. In Singapore, amount paid to a parent company in Singapore for foreign technical services for rupees 25,000. Provision entry posted in May 2022. Provision entry is posted in May 2022. Please be careful. I'm covering this provision. Payment of taxes connected with time of supply provisions. So for serial number 2, what would be your answer? Noted, Mansa? Yes, Rahim. Be ready with your answer also parallelly. Then, serial number 3. 25th June 2022, 25th June 2022, advance received from Mrs. Delta and Co., excluding GST, where place of supply is Goa for 12 lakhs. On 30th June 2022, refund of part amount to Mrs. Delta and Co., excluding GST, 80,000. Now, serial number 3 and serial number 4 are connected, where they say that 25th June, they have received advance for 12 lakhs. Place of supply is mentioned as Goa. And on 30th June, there has been a refund for rupees 80,000. Now, for this serial number 1, serial number 2, serial number 3, serial number 4, please work out what would be the GST payable by Basu & Co. LLP. Basu & Co. LLP. Be ready with your answer. I'll also work out along with you. I want answers from all of you. I've got a couple of answers. I'm just waiting for a few more responses. Okay. Viraj, Mansa, she says she has got some other thing. Joy, Shailesh, Namrata. I'm getting only one student answers. Okay. I'll explain you this one. Let me come to my Excel file. For 15th June 2022, the GST provisions say when we deal with a receipt voucher, when place of supply and GST is not available, place of supply has to be considered as interstate and GST rate is 18%. This is what my GST provisions say when you don't know your GST rate, when you don't know what is your place of supply. So accordingly, IGST, CGST, SGST. I'll assume that this 1 lakh what is received is including GST. So I'll say into 18 divided by 118. This would be my tax for money received where there is no clarity with respect to GST. This is my answer for first transaction. Then second transaction. Amount paid to a parent company in Singapore for foreign technical service, provision entry posted in May 2022, 25,000 rupees. Now, why I have given this example is just to bring to your attention provisions connected with section 13, which deals with your time of supply. Section 13, which deals with your time of supply. Also, I would to discuss with respect to associated enterprise. In relation to associated enterprise, my time of supply shall be date of payment or booking the provision, whichever is earlier. Either making the payment or making the provision, whichever is earlier, that shall be my time of supply. Because my time of here, the problems is that provision entry posted in May 2022. Because my entry is just posted in May 2022, on June 2022, which I am just referring here, it's just a payment. Because it is a payment made, I would say there is no tax to be paid in June 2022. Answer, because of time of supply provisions, because it is a transaction which took place in May 2022, accounting entry is already done, the tax already has been paid for. So the tax payable is nil. Similarly, going further, advance received from Delta and Co. excluding GST. My time place of supply is Goa. Because place of supply is Goa, and the problem clearly says that my Basu and Co. Let me come to my problem. Basu and Co. is LLP registered in Tamil Nadu. Service provider is in Tamil Nadu. Place of supply is Goa. So what is it we interpret? It is a interstate supply. Because it is an interstate supply, it would be a IGST transaction. Now, because it is excluding GST, what I will do, on this, I have to calculate my GST, excluding GST. It does not include GST. On 12 lakhs, I'll see assuming 18% GST. 2,16,000 happens to be my GST. However, in the same month, I have made a refund of 80,000. So I'll say into 18% IGST. So 2,16,000 minus 14,400. 2,01,600 would be the GST payable on account of money received from Delta and Co. Money received from Delta and Co. Is this answer clear for everyone? Is this answer clear for everyone? Rahim, both of your answers are correct, ma? Both of your answers are correct. Let me come back to second question. Question number 2. Interest, let me just increase a little more. Yeah. Second question. Interest under section 50 is applicable on delayed remittance of tax other than by way of a scrutiny under 73 or 74. Choice given. Only on cash portion of output tax or only on input tax credit out of output tax on entire portion of output tax paid. None of the above. So as per provisions of section 50, what would be your answer? When I have to pay interest, now this is a scenario where my return has been delayed. Why was the return delayed? Not account of assessment provisions, not account of adjudication under 73, 74. So when I have to pay interest, option A, only on cash portion out of total output tax. So whatever output tax is there, of the output tax, whatever is the cash portion, only on that I have to pay interest. Option B, on the total output tax, what is the amount of tax I have paid using input tax, only on that input tax I have to pay interest. Option C, on entire output tax. What would be your answer? A, B, C, D. What would be your answer? Students, please keep in mind, I'm making you to cover through your entire provisions. Just apply the concepts, what you have learned, and give the proper answer. So in this case, Out of total output tax, the tax which needs to be paid, using cash portion, a loan subjected to interest. Yes. Next. This is connected with your payment of tax. IGST credit can be set off in the following manner. There is a rule, section 49 read with rule number 88A. So when I have to set off IGST, what is the procedure? IGST will be set off with IGST, then balance with UTGST, balance with SGST. Or IGST set off with IGST, then with SGST, then with CGST. Or I with IGST, then CGST, then SGST. Last option, with CGST, later SGST, later UTGST. What would be the right choice? Good. Both of your answers are correct, Rahim and Anish. For question number 3, IGST first will be set off with IGST, balance if any with CGST or SGST in that particular chronology. Rule 88A talks about IGST. Now, why is that other answers are correct? UTGST and SGST cannot go together. Before CGST, SGST is not correct. And again, like C and UTGST cannot come together. Next question. Input tax credit available in credit ledger of one state can be transferred to credit ledger of another state using form PMT09 chalan. In payment of taxes chapter, we have studied. I can transfer balance in one ledger to another ledger of one particular state to ledger of another particular state of a distinct person. So they are saying that input tax available in a credit ledger of one state can be transferred to the credit ledger of another state. True or false? True or false? Answer is false. Only cash ledger is permitted. Now, please remember, for question number 3, both are correct. I can set off IGST first with IGST, balance with C and RS or CN, SNC. And for question number 4, my ITC cannot be transferred. Money in cash ledger can be transferred from one ledger, one state to another state, one major head to another major head. So here answer would be false. Then CTP and NRTP registrations have similar provisions for payment of tax. When I say similar provisions for payment of tax, how does the tax gets paid? Answer would be any person who is a CTP or NRTP, 5 days prior to registration, they need to take a registration, and whatever is the self-assessed tax that needs to be deposited in advance at the time of registration. Answer would be because they make an assessment of estimated tax and they deposit. I say answer is correct to the extent of registration and depositing tax in advance. Next, question number 6. Aadhar authentication is not mandatory for regular registration obtained under GST. My question is, when I take a registration, Aadhar authentication is not mandatory. Yes, Mansa. CGST, SGST in any proportion. First, I'll set off with IGST, then with C and S in any proportion. Question number 6. It is mandatory. Aadhar authentication is mandatory. Question says it is not mandatory. Answer is false. It is mandatory for regular registration. Then, e-way bill is compulsory for all the goods transported having value more than 50,000. E-way bill is compulsory for all the goods transported having value for more than rupees 50,000 through motor vehicle. True or false? True or false? This is just a recap of what all we have studied, ma. As and when I explain, I'll recap you to understand these provisions once again. Answer is false for the reason goods transported where it is exempted. Now, please remember when I talk about this, Annexure 14 to Rule 138. Annexure 14 to Rule 138. Exempted goods, personal belongings, right? So these cases, there is no compulsion to have e-way bill. So here when I say e-way bill is compulsory for all goods, now goods could be taxable, goods could be exempted. So only taxable goods, e-way bill is compulsory. Exempted goods other than the oil key, rest all, it is not compulsory. So for that reason, it is false. Point number 8. E-invoice is mandatory for availment of input tax credit from a supplier. I'll say from a supplier who is obligated to issue invoice as per Rule 48, Sub-Rule 4. Now, to answer this question, you should remember Rule 48. Now, to understand Rule 48, you need to remember the chapter we discussed on tax invoice, debit note, credit note, etc. E-invoice is mandatory for availment of input tax credit from a supplier who is obligated to issue invoice as per Rule 48.4. Good, Mansa. Though you're having other obligation, all of your answers is correct, ma. Good. Answer is, for the purpose of Rule 48, my e-invoice is mandatory. I repeat, if any invoice issued other than Rule 48, then my input tax is not allowed. So please remember, students, any person who is issuing a tax invoice as per Rule 48, that e-invoice is compulsory for the purpose of availment of input tax credit. This is compulsory. Moving on, question number 9. SEZ unit are exempted from issuance of e-invoice as per Rule 48. SEZ unit are exempted from issuance of e-invoice. True or false? True or false? SEZ unit are exempted from issuance of e-invoice. There are certain exceptions like bank and financial institutions, insurance company. I explained, if banks have to issue e-invoice, remember millions of transactions happens in a day. All those transactions cannot be accommodated on GST portal. So that's why they give relaxation. So one among them, what is that SEZ unit? Answer would be true. SEZ developer is mandated, but SEZ unit is exempted from e-invoice. So answer for question number 9 is true. There is no compulsion for SEZ unit to issue e-invoice. However, SEZ developer has to issue e-invoice. Next. Last question for the day. This is discussed already. TDS has to be recovered under section 51. I'll say TDS has to be recovered for all the contracts having value exceeding rupees 2,50,000 received by a notified person under section 51 of CGST Act. I repeat the question. TDS has to be recovered for all the contracts having a value exceeding rupees 2,50,000 received by a notified person under section 51, like state government, central government, local authority. Now, assuming here 2,50,000, I'll say for better clarity, excluding taxes. What else? What would be your answer? Think and answer. We have discussed the exceptions to rule this section 51 also. Answer would be false. Why? I'll give a scenario where supplier and place of supply are in a different state compared to that of TDS director. I gave one example where we spoke about a contract. We spoke about a works contract. Assuming that local authority is in Tamil Nadu. Service provider is from Kerala and place of supply is Kerala. So why is this? When does this come into picture? I gave an example of a land survey to be done. Now, assuming a portion of area falls between Tamil Nadu and Kerala. Service provider from Kerala who is doing a survey, some portion of land falls in Kerala. One example. Second example, hotel accommodation. Local authority from Tamil Nadu have taken on hire a convention hall in Kerala where the place of supply is Kerala. Please remember provisions of section 12, subsection 3 of IGST. Now, by virtue of that, though the contract value is exceeding 2,50,000, I need not deduct TDS under section 51. So please remember these exceptions in examination. Clear? So students, we are at 9 o'clock. We come to the end of our today's discussion. Hope you have enjoyed the learning. We will connect back again in December with the customs related provisions. Till then, read well, recap well, and come prepared for our customs related provisions. Till then, see you all. Good night. Goodbye.